What's going on, everybody? Welcome into College Football Now. My name is Joey Peterson. On today's show, we're going to look at the college football transfer portal, and I'm going to tell you the 10 top names, 10 top players available that I believe have already entered the portal. Now, it's not officially open. It opens on January 2nd, but these are names that have already let everybody know, hey, look, I'm leaving my current school. I'm going somewhere else. Come get me if you want me. Before we get into the top 10 names, I do got a question for you, though. Who do you think should have made the college football playoff between Miami and Notre Dame? This was a massive talking point yesterday. Miami got in over the Fighting Irish. Do you think that was the right call? I personally do, but you might have some differing opinions. If you think they made the right call, type in for Miami. If you think Notre Dame should have made it, go ahead and give me an ND. Sam Leavitt is the number one name that is right now in the college football transfer portal, the quarterback from Arizona State. It was rumored he'd be entering a couple of weeks ago, and then today it came down. He officially is in the portal. Now, his season this year was cut short due to injury, lower body. 60% completion percentage on the year, 1,600 yards and 10 touchdowns in the 7 games that he played. However, that was coming off of his best season, which led them to a college football playoff berth. 61.7% completion percentage, 2,885 yards, 24 touchdowns. He's dynamic with both his legs and his arms. And for all the quarterbacks that are in the transfer portal right now, I guarantee you Sam Leavitt will command the most money. There's going to be a lot of teams like a Miami, like maybe an Indiana, although they got Mendoza's little brother, the other Mendoza. There's going to be a lot of teams that need quarterback that will be looking at Sam Leavitt and will be willing to cough up a hefty NIL offer. Where do you think Sam Leavitt will end up? You let me know down below in the comment section. Right now, my money would go Miami, but you might feel differently. Let me know where you think in the comment section down below. We talk quarterback. Let's talk running back right now. How about CJ Baxter Jr., running back at the University of Texas, was a 5-star recruit out of high school, was supposed to be the replacement for a one Bijan Robinson. However, that did not end up happening. 2023, 2 years ago, he had a really good season, 138 carries. That's 3 seasons ago. 138 carries, 700 yards, 5 touchdowns. Then in 2025, this past year, only played in 8 games, 54 carries, 196 yards, 3.6 yards a carry. And you might be asking me, Joey, where the heck did 2024 go? You forgot to put that in the graphic. Well, I did not, because in August, he had an LCL, PCL tear in his knee, missed the entirety of that season. And then this last year, missed a lot of games, deal with a hamstring injury as well. That's been his thing. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy. But when he is healthy, he lives up to that 5-star ranking that he got coming out of high school. Nick Nash is another guy we got to talk about. Not Nick Nash. That was the San Jose State wide receiver from last year. Nick Marsh, rather, the wide receiver out of Michigan State. He is currently in the transfer portal, and I feel like he's probably the wide receiver that's in it right now with the most statistics to back up him being heavily recruited once he is in the portal. Michigan State did not do much right this past season. In fact, they fired their head coach. But Nick Marsh was a bright spot in that offense. 662 yards, 60 catches, 6 touchdowns, 48 yards was his longest, all of that in 12 games played. You better believe some teams who are wanting wide receiver will be calling his name. Let's talk Boo Carter. Let's get controversial, shall we? The defensive back for the Tennessee Volunteers has been in the transfer portal since they concluded their Week 13 game against New Mexico State. Boo Carter's coming off of a year where he only played in 8 games, but 25 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, 3 pass breakups, and a sack. He's one of those guys that you notice him when he's on the field because of his athletic ability. But that's the thing, when he's on the field. And I'm not talking about injury. No, I'm rather talking about his attitude, his connection with his teammates, his conduct in the eyes of his head coach. If you remember Boo Carter, if you've heard that name before, you probably heard it back in July when out of nowhere it came out that he hadn't been to a single workout for the entirety of the offseason. And then Coach Heupel, Tennessee Volunteers, gave him a de facto suspension. He kind of had to work his way back into training camp, work his way up into getting play time. And then about a week 9 against Kentucky, he just absolutely gave up in pursuit of a wide receiver That ended up in a touchdown. He didn't play the entire second half of that game. Didn't play a single defensive snap for the game against Oklahoma. Then he was inactive for the game against New Mexico State. Josh Heupel came out the day after, said they're moving on, and more specifically said, at the end of the day, it's our job as coaches to try to help mold these guys. That's part of the commitment we make in the recruiting process. And when they decide to come, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. At the end of the day, we are moving forward. So, Boo Carter, high ceiling, very low floor. Freak athlete. Really good defensive player. You could even play him a little bit on offense. He could go both ways. However, seems to be a little bit of a risk because he's kind of a head case. Would you take the risk on Boo Carter, though? Give me a yes or a no down below in that comment section. What would you do? Do you think he's worth it just based off the talent alone? Or are you one of those guys that's saying, you know what, not worth it. We're going to move on. We're going to go with something that has a little bit of a higher floor than Boo Carter does. Coming up next, let's stay on the defensive side of the ball. Quentin Taylor Jr., defensive back out of Iowa State, played in 11 games for the Cyclones this past season, 27 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 5 pass breakups on his year as well. But he's a younger guy. He's still got a lot of years ahead of him. He's only played in 2 seasons with the Cyclones. You got to think he might end up where his former head coach ended up this past couple of weeks following Matt Campbell, possibly to Penn State. Don't go anywhere. Coming up, we got 5 more transfer portal players to talk about, break their stats down, where they might end up. But before that, we got to give a massive shout-out to our awesome sponsor, the reason you're watching today's video for 100% free, our great friends over at PrizePicks. It is the holiday season, ladies and gentlemen. That means it is the best time of the year for sports. You got bowl matchups, playoff pushes, basketball games. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right, and that's PrizePicks. PrizePicks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. On PrizePicks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose Flex Play, where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the Power Play. No matter your play, PrizePicks is a great way to put your takes to the test. Here's my PrizePicks lineup. For Monday Night Football, you got Eagles, Chargers. Give me the more on A.J. Brown, 59.5 receiving yards, and the more on Kamani Vidal, 35.5 rushing yards. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Links to this promo in the comments and description of today's video. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. How about we go to I was almost going to say the Sunshine State. What's California? The Golden State. There we go. Matai Tagoa'i, linebacker out of USC. Now, he's a really, really young kid. In fact, he just finished up his freshman year, but he was a 4-star linebacker in the class of 2025. He was a top 100 player in that recruiting class as well. And with him, you wouldn't be recruiting production except ceiling, right? Because he didn't play that much. He's young. But there's a chance he could turn into something very, very special. And if you want to know a little bit more about what his scouting report looks like, here's it from 24/7 Sports. Explosive athlete with a get off and can really get around the edge. He has very good closing speed and can run down plays from behind. He's a fluid athlete, looks natural, dropping in coverage, and he plays with a nice edge in his game as well. His upside is extremely high. Got to think he's going to stay on the West Coast. Tayven Jackson, we're going to do a couple of quarterbacks here, starting with Jackson, quarterback for UCF. He has been all around the globe in his college career. He was at Tennessee, then he went to Indiana, this last year at UCF. Now he's going to go somewhere else. He's got a decent bit of production outside of Sam Leavitt, the most production you're going to see out of a quarterback from this past season in the transfer portal. 63.5% completion percentage, 2,151 yards, 10 touchdowns. However, he does have a QBR of 54.1, but he's got the upside with his legs. Okay, you got to think there's going to be some teams that are going to take the shot on Tayven Jackson. Max Johnson, how about this guy? UNC stands for North Carolina, but it might as well just stand for UNC because it feels like this guy's been in college forever. Only played in 4 games for the Tar Heels this past year, 62.1% completion percentage, 432 yards, 2 touchdowns. However, he's had time at LSU. He's had time at A&M. He's been riddled with injuries throughout the entirety of his career. That's the reason he's still playing football. But if you want a veteran quarterback that knows what it's like to play in this league, Max Johnson just might be your guy. Out of those two players, who would you rather? Tayven Jackson or Max Johnson? Go ahead and give me a TJ or an MJ down below in the comment section. Weigh in with your answer and tell me which quarterback you'd rather go with. Let's talk about a guy who has not had a ton of production but has a ton of upside. Kind of like Matai. Let's talk about Perry Thompson, wide receiver at Auburn. Was going to be a part of an unbelievable wide receiver core with Cam Coleman. However, broke his foot in September, did not play a single snap in 2025. And him being on was one of the big reasons their offense failed to get pretty much off the runway this past year. That and not very good quarterback play. However, it was a 4-star wide receiver in the class of 2024. Saw, minimum snaps in the season of 2024. Obviously less in 2025 because of that injury. But he's the guy that many people believe was going to be a big, big addition to that wide receiver room for Auburn and will be a big addition wherever else he goes. Dylan Edwards, running back at Kansas State. That's what we're going to end today's show with, talking about a guy who was supposed to be the Deuce replacement over there for the Wildcats. Never truly lived up to it. Many people kind of thought he was going to be the replacement because of his size. He's about 5'9". This year, 34 carries, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. Season got cut short due to injury. But 2024, 12 games played, 74 carries, 546 yards. Interesting name, interesting skill set. I don't know if he can ever be a running back 1 in college football, but he could definitely be a nice part of a 1-2 punch out there for somebody's backfield. That's going to do it for today's show. Make sure you subscribe to Chat Sports right here on YouTube. NFL coverage, NBA coverage, college football year-round. This is the best place to be, and if you haven't joined us yet, make that change right now.